Well, everybody, this is the next episode. As you could see, the engine has been moved. Took it off the stand, and we have it mocked up. I still have it attached because my intention for this first installation here is just to kind of see what kind of clearance issues I'm going to have. That way I can make some modifications if needed and see where I'm at as far as ordering stuff. Make sure I don't need anything additional before actually putting the engine in place for good. Verify that oil pan, and pretty much just hopefully do a one-time mock-up to kind of get everything kind of figured out before doing the final in there for good kind of installation. The oil pan's still not sealed, but it is mounted. I've got this piece of wood here to kind of tilt the engine back. It's a little front heavy, so when I put it in, it was kind of sitting like that, and I needed it to sit level to verify some clearances. So first off, I don't think I'll have an issue right here for my alternator. There's tons of room on the passenger side, but I didn't end up installing that to kind of see where I'm at because I'm pretty sure I'm good there. I did install the AC compressor. As you can see, it is very tight in there. I did a little bit of shaving at the back. I think once it's mounted, we'll be good. You can kind of hear if I move it a little bit, it's hitting back there. But I think once I tighten it and mount it in its correct position, I think I'll be all right. Let me go ahead and pull it out. I'll kind of show you what I did. Alright, so I pulled it out. You could see I just kind of, it was very, very close, but I just wanted to give a little bit more clearance, so I just kind of sanded that a little, sanded that little lip. That's kind of just where it was sitting. Let me go set this on the bench and I can kind of show you where I can actually point at stuff. But yeah, so you could see there's this little machining mark where it was in the, I shouldn't say machining, actually the forged mark from where it was in the mold for this piece. And you can kind of see that's probably where the seam of the mold was. So there was a little bit of extra metal here. So I just kind of smoothed it right there. I used a Sharpie to kind of mark where it was at. And now it's pretty close, but it's not touching. Probably only have about a 1/16 to an 1/18 of an inch. But that's good enough. Also, I bought a 2016 Camaro AC lines to come out of here. This is actually the Colorado one, and I actually found out the Colorado one sits this way in the AC compressor on the 2019 Colorado. I'm kind of finding out there's actually a little bit of differences between some of the years, but the 2019, it sits this way. That's the line that goes to the condenser. That's the line that goes into the dash. So if you look here, the Camaro one is flipped. The bigger line is actually that way. But if you look at this, they actually fit. So with the location that I've got this, using the 16 accessories, if I flip this this way, flip this way, I can mount the Colorado AC condenser or AC lines on this AC compressor, and I should be exactly where I need to be as far as where the lines need to go. I've been kind of looking, you can kind of see in here, for those not familiar with AC lines, they typically braze these together, which is sort of like a high temperature solder, you know, if I can compare it to something. So I think that looks like brazing. I'm gonna find out. I'm hoping that I could heat this up. Brazing, you know, you got to get aluminum up to about 750 degrees, and it should melt that. And then I'm going to see if I could pull them from this plate. If I can, I'll clean it all up. I'll mount this in the compressor, get the compressor mounted on the truck. Just make sure I have it, you know, at the right orientation for clearancing, you know, forward and backwards. Mark it, pull it back off, I'll pull the line back off, pull the plate back off, and then I'll braze them back together. That's kind of my plan at the moment. Kind of sucks because I bought the 2016 Camaro one not too long, actually about 3 weeks ago. So kind of out the money for that, but hey, this is the nature of the beast when you're kind of doing something that's not very well documented. But I'll cover that once I get to it. Just wanted to kind of show that because I thought that was kind of interesting. Getting back over to here, looking at our clearances. So as you can see, the passenger side, I mean, there's all kinds of room. I don't think I'm going to have an issue. Most of my issues, I think, are going to come on the driver's side. As you can see, I've mocked up. I've got the manifold installed and the steering shaft. So with the steering shaft, I was kind of worried that I would have to modify that after, I don't know if you saw my last video where I discussed LHT is doing a swap, and they had some issues with that bolt, but it's not looking like I will have those issues. So you can kind of see, I mean, that bolt, even when it spins around, I should have plenty of clearance. If anything, I might just have to hammer a little indentation, but that's cast. So that's easier said than done. You can't really dent that, but my intention is I found a Silverado kind of Y-pipe shorty header combo that I'm thinking will probably work with some minor modding. So I'll probably order that this week. Let's get underneath here. So as you could see there, I mean, it looks pretty good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot more room than I was actually expecting. It looks like the manifold does come pretty close to the mount boot. So I may wrap that mount with some heat wrap. We'll see. I'll get the kind of header Y-pipe, I should say shorty Y-pipe combo thing I'm hoping that I can use, and then, you know, we can kind of see how it lines up with the transmission. I did measure from where the transmission will mount back to the cross member, and it looks like we're good where I have the mounts currently. So let's get on to the big kind of worry that I had. And as you can see, I was pretty dang good on my measurements. You can see that piece of wood up there, but you can see I have all kinds of room. I mean, that front diff is not even close to that oil pan. I mean, that's like the closest, and that's pretty far. All right, so another issue I've got is, so this is a hot rod oil pan for rodders. So one of the issues is there's no, well, there's a couple issues. So the first one is there's no oil cooler lines. And those that don't know, the stock Colorado does have an oil cooler built into the radiator, and I would like to continue to use that. So they do make a sandwich plate that I found, whoa, that will mount between the filter and this bracket. So this is the oil filter bracket, but as you can see, I don't have much room between the filter and the diff, so I need to do some measurements. I went ahead and just ordered the sandwich plate, and I'm just kind of hoping that it'll work. If it doesn't, I may be able to kind of do a little bit of shaving. I got to pull this front diff. If you remember my last video, the bearings are kind of shot inside, and I'm going to be rebuilding it and re-gearing it. So I might be able to shave this a little bit, but I don't know. It's gonna be pretty tight. I've got to do a couple measurements when I have both my hands free. So I'm just gonna set that right there. But if not, I'll have to just run a remote. It's not really what I wanted to do, because finding a remote for an LT-based engine is proving to be a little difficult. I should say finding a good, decent quality one that doesn't have horrible reviews has been hard to find, but I'll continue looking around the swap groups and kind of looking around. So this hot rod oil pan, you know, the drain plug will be here. No big deal. I mean, it'll probably hit this when it shoots out, but hey, trade-off to run a V8, I'll take it. And when I change the oil, I'll probably just, I don't know, I'll put a shield or something there to kind of direct it. I'm not too worried about that. And let's see what else. So I'll probably have to take the skid off to do oil changes. I'm going to be running the stock skids for now, but eventually I'd like to get the AAV. So eventually there'll be, you know, the transmission bars that come across right here, come back and cover the trans. But I'll probably end up having to take the engine skid off to get the filter off, but I'm perfectly okay with that. Other than that, I mean, you can see the passenger side, there's all kinds of clearance. You know, I'll be a little limited when the trans is in, but if the manifold fits the Silverado, I'll have the same kind of clearance, but we'll see how that works out. I think that's pretty much it, at least for today. I'm going to go ahead and start taking some of this stuff off that I've installed for clearancing, and get the motor back out and on the stand so I can get the pan sealed up and just kind of finalize some things. Cinch down the engine mounts. As you can see, this engine mount is not sitting too flat, so I'm probably going to take the spacers out of this one. I don't know if you saw my last video, but I put some washers between the plate and the engine just to allow me to kind of move it good. I think I'm just going to take those out on this side only. That side I had to The driver's side, I had to keep them in there because the bolt was hitting for the top part. So I'll leave those ones in. I think having them both is kind of making it to where this mount doesn't want to kind of seat itself, but I'll take those out and we'll see what happens once I take them out and then mount it for good. Hopefully next weekend, probably either Saturday or Sunday. I got to order we got to order those headers or the shorty Y-pipe setup. I'm going to order some ARP manifold bolts. The ones that were on this are like pretty rusty, and I don't want to risk putting them in there and having them break later on. But yeah, I'll get those ordered. Like I said, I've already ordered the sandwich plate, so I can kind of deal with that as I go. Yeah, other than that, I think got enough room right there. So I'll probably be running oil cooler lines through here. Transmission lines will come up here. Got plenty of room right there. Probably have to do that before I put the AC compressor in. That way I have some access in there. But yeah, we're coming along pretty good. So now that the AC compressor's out, I'll kind of show you. This is actually where the AC compressor was hitting. It wasn't interfering any with the actual shaft of the power steering rack. So it wasn't hitting anywhere that's actually going to move. So that's why I'm not really too worried about it as far as having to shave that down a little. I'll probably be rerouting this ground. This is the engine ground. Haven't figured out where that's going to go yet. I got to see what my harness looks like. I still have not gotten the harness. I ordered that the first week in January, and it's, what, like March 19th, I think, 20th. So it's kind of taken a while. But hopefully I get that in the next week or two. Can't really do much with the engine as far as putting a lot. I don't want to put any of the top on until I get that harness, because I have to run it into the kind of into this area around the back, you know, the coils, the whole fuel pump, wiring. Still haven't put the computers in. I'm kind of waiting on that. I still researching how getting those programmed. I don't think I've really covered the computer aspect of it, but I've bought HP tuners. So I've got an HP tuner module. So I will have to tune this. I mean, it's running a stage 1 high lift cam, so I'll definitely be tuning it, and I'm running the L86, so I'll be getting a lot more air in there. L86 intake manifold with throttle body, so I'll have to tune for that, tune for the cam, whatever else I do. It'll have an exhaust on it and obviously an intake, you know, based on what I get, but definitely will not be a factory Silverado intake. So yeah, so I'll be running HP tuners. There is some uncertainty I'm still researching as far as getting the... So my issue is I have emissions. I've discussed this in my last video about me running catalytic converters. With that, when they hook up your OBD2 for the scanner for your emissions, it will read the VIN from the ECM, if I'm doing my research correct. Well, if I disable VATS so that I can actually start this with the V8 computer, I'm still looking at whether I can install my VIN number for the Colorado but run the Silverado software. So that's kind of kind of where I'm at as far as researching that. I haven't really found too many good answers, or at least something that explains it well with this particular setup. This is so the Colorado and the Silverado that I got this engine from are still on Global A or Global Architecture, Global A. The 2019 Silverado has moved to a different version, and I hear that one's even more of a pain. But I ended up buying a clone MDI2, which is the module that the actual dealership uses to program your ECM. So my intention is to kind of play with that once I get the ECM in here with the wiring harness, and I can actually read it from the OBD2 sensor or the OBD2 plug. So once I kind of figure that out, I get it to where I can actually read the ECM. I'll have to pay for a subscription for that. If I could figure out if I can flash the module with my VIN number, run the Silverado programming so it can run the V8, hopefully that'll be good, and then I can then tune with HP tuners. I haven't bought any credits yet for HP just because I'm not really sure how that's going to work yet based on that VIN number issue. But once I figure that out and I can do the TCM and get that with my VIN and programmed, so all the VINs need to talk to each other. I'm sorry, all the modules need to be able to talk to each other in order for your truck to actually work. So that's kind of what I've been playing with. I'm not sure what all VATS deleting will accomplish. I know it'll let me start it, but I'm more worried about the emissions part of it. I'm pretty sure I can get it started running perfectly fine. My big issue is the ECM is not blank. It has it's still programmed for the Silverado that this engine came from. So I'm just hoping that I could flash it and put my VIN number in it. If I could do that for the TCM as well, then I'll be sending the TCM to HP Tuners to get it unlocked so I can tune that as well. It sounds like HP Tuners is only about a week to 2 weeks turnaround on those, so I'm not too worried about that taking a while. From what I've been seeing, they're pretty quick on that. So that's why I haven't done it yet, but that might be a week or two hold up once, I'm hoping that I can get my wiring harness and kind of at least be able to read the modules, maybe not have all this done yet. That way I can kind of figure that out before I'm basically ready to start it, and then I can worry about the tuning and all that later. That's not a big deal. I'm still working out whether I'm going to tune it myself. I have never tuned before, but I've been watching tons of videos on it. If anybody wants some good resources, check out Goat Rope Garage. That guy, I think his name is Kyle, has some great videos on tuning yourself with HP tuners. Great video series. Been watching those quite a bit. So I'll probably end up tuning it myself. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. So I'll go ahead and end this video here. It's probably pretty long because I seem to ramble on, and I know I use a lot of words quite a bit, like intention. I was watching a couple of my videos and I notice I say that word a lot, but I mean, this is unknown territory here, so there's a lot of intentions. Because, every day, mock up something and could have 10 things change. So nothing's really set in stone until it's the bolts are in it. So that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one.